Okay, now let's get down to business. How do you measure electric current? How do you measure, what are the different kinds of measurement you can do of the current that's going through your particular wires in your house? You may have heard of an amp, and I don't necessarily mean the kind you use with an electric guitar, although that's related. I'm talking about like your house. Have you ever gone to your circuit breaker and or maybe you're trying to buy a house and you say, well, how many amps is this house wired to be able to handle? And that's like how much you're drawing on current. How much current can you draw at any one time from this house? Is it a 100 amp house? Probably not these days. Probably it's in the 200 range or more if it's a really huge kind of facility. Amp is the measurement of current passing a particular point at a particular time. How much of that can we actually draw on in this house before the circuit breaker goes, I can't handle this anymore? Well, let's talk about it. So current is the amount of electricity flowing through a medium like a wire at a particular point in time. So it's flow of electrons per time. That's what current is, and that's what the amp is meant to measure. We need something to be able to, we need some kind of a unit to measure current as number of electrons going by a particular point at a particular time. Let's say that you're back in the old days and you've got a guy with a clicker and he's counting people going through the gate to a baseball game, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if they ever did that. They probably did at some point. But of course we do it. It's all automated now. That's not important really, is it? No, not at all. And why would you even go to a baseball game? I mean, it's so slow. I like playing baseball. Okay, never mind. But so let's say you want to know how many people are coming into the stadium. Let's say that you got a good rhythm going. It's a regular rhythm, and you've got 5 people per minute. Well, okay. You got a certain amount of people coming into the baseball game per second or per minute and so forth. When we talk about the amp, we're talking about something very similar. How many electrons are flowing by the gate into the stadium in a particular amount of time? So an amp is amount of electrons per time, as it were, or that's one way to think of it. How much? So I'm watching the electrons go by this point in the wire. How many are going by that point in a given number of time? Well, that's what an amp is in so many words. An amp is amount of current flowing by a particular point at a particular point of time. And if your house says, give me more, I need more electrons, I need more, and then your circuit breaker goes off. So an amp is amount of electrons passing a point at a particular time. Now we need to group these electrons. Electrons are really, really, really small. We could not count them. They're just too small. There are too many electrons to actually use electrons. Oh, 1 amp is, 5 quadrillion or quintillion electrons passing here at a center. I don't want to have to say quintillion. Have you even heard the word quintillion before? And so there was a guy named Coulomb. I don't know if he didn't actually come up with the Coulomb, I don't think, but it's named after him. He lived in the early 1800s. A coulomb is 6 quintillion, 250 quadrillion electrons. Okay, that's called a coulomb. I don't know why they went with 625. I don't know why they didn't do 1, I don't know why they didn't do that. But whoever came up with the coulomb chose 6 quintillion, 250 quadrillion electrons. Most of us don't count that high. I don't count that high. But here we have hundreds, thousands, millions, billions, trillions, quadrillions, quintillions. Basically, there are 18 18 spaces here from the 6. If you start here after the 6, there are 18 spaces before you get to the decimal point. This is called scientific notation. In my next video in this series, I'll talk a little bit about scientific notation. You probably did it in middle school or high school. But basically what we do is we take the first digit, 6, here, we put a point, and then the next digits, 2.25, and then this is basically how many spaces there are from here to the real decimal point. So 10 to the 18th power, 6.25 times 10 to the 18th power, that's how you say that. It means there are 18 spaces between the 6 and the real decimal point. So this is a way of saying, okay, electrons are so small that I'm going to count them in coulombs. I'm going to count them in these very large groups. So 1 amp is 1 coulomb passing a particular point like this here every second. An amp is a coulomb per second. A coulomb of electrons going past any point per second, we call that 1 amp. And that, my friends, is what an amp is. An amp is a coulomb of electrons passing any point per second. There's a formula for this. Now, I don't know why they used I instead of, why not use A for amp? But they used I for current, and then Q stands for charge. That's what the coulomb is. And then T stands for time. So this formula, and unfortunately we're going to have to use a little algebra here, current equals charge per time, or amps equals coulombs divided by time. That's what this means. Amps equals coulombs divided by time. Current equals charge per time. And that's the first formula of this series on basic electricity and electronics. The more current, the brighter the lamp. If you add cells to a battery, you get more current and you get a brighter lamp. The more amps, the brighter the lamp. The more current passing through at any one time, the brighter the lamp. And this has been our answer to the question, what is an amp?